Hey Forum, my name is Manny, aka CascadeScents. Welcome to another video. Like the title says, this one is on 10 designer fragrance brands that fragrance enthusiasts respect, or potentially even respect the most rather. And to be honest, this topic actually really interests me, and I presume interests you as well. And for me, it's because you guys keep asking me about where you should start as far as if you are perhaps getting into fragrance for the first time. You might not want to spend so much money on, say, higher end fragrances like higher end designers and or niche, but you want something approachable that's still kind of up there as far as quality, creativity, value, or whatever other criteria might be on your docket. So yeah, I definitely think I have the 10 houses here to get you started. So on some OCD shit, we're gonna go alphabetical here. And at the top we have Bvlgari. And if you are already familiar with Bvlgari, you would know them for perhaps their Bvlgari Man line, or maybe their Omnia line, or maybe their Aqua line as well. But why Bvlgari specifically makes this list is because of this line right here. The Ote stuff from the Eau Parfumée line I just think is incredible. You have Ote Bleu, Vert, Blanc. Rouge I think is really good, but for me, my two favorite are Ote Noir and Ote Noir Eau de Cologne Intense. You seldom see tea done on such a high level in general, let alone on the designer level, but to see that here, I just think is really, really cool. I think the major drawback against this line specifically here in Bvlgari is the fact that they're hella light, but to be fair, if you are rocking a tea scent, it's pretty much par for the course for you at that point. You know what you're getting into. But if that doesn't irk you too much and you actually do enjoy the lightness for maybe that zen quality or that zen mode you're trying to put yourself in when you're using something understated like this, then you would probably agree that this stuff deserves to be heralded. It deserves to be respected by the people who are actually buying these. And when I say that these brands or these lines are respected by fragrance enthusiasts, I mean ones that also enjoy niche and designer. So I really do think that you kind of have the best of both worlds here. You have a more grassroots, esoteric, creative approach, but by designer brand in designer packaging. So definitely check out the Eau Parfumée line by Bvlgari and just Bvlgari in general, because I definitely do think that they deserve your respect. Moving on to the next brand, here we go with Chanel. Now I know what some of the men might be thinking out there as far as Chanel. Oh, they're kind of understated, they're kind of boring. Why don't I just buy an Armani or Dior or a Bvlgari, something like that? You know, because they're also overpriced per se. But to be fair, in my personal opinion, I think the cachet surrounding Chanel is actually well deserved. But to be frank on why that is, it's because of consistency in their quality. Now the jury's out on if Olivier Polge can continue his father's tradition, Jacques Polge, with what he's been doing for Chanel over the past few decades. I personally think he's going to be able to uphold that level, but who knows? But more or less, speaking on what Jacques has done over the past few decades, I just think is incredible. Like the synthetics that he uses as far as being able to get the most out of them and to be able to seamlessly blend everything together, I just think is so clinical, so clean, so Chanel. And you really can see this in all of their offerings, whether it's the Bleu de Chanel line, Allure, Allure Homme, Chance, whatever it is. They're all awesome. And I know what you might be thinking. Some of you still might think that some of them are still kind of not so exciting. But to be fair, where would the rest of the perfume world be without Chanel? You know, everyone else's exciting offerings and whatnot. A lot of them have been inspired from this brand. Like Versace has the Versace Pour Homme line with like Dylan Blue, which kind of bit Sauvage, and Sauvage probably wouldn't have dropped if it wasn't for the success of Bleu de Chanel. And of course that line also has the standard Versace Pour Homme, which also bit Allure Homme Sport. So yeah, like with that being said, I really think it's kind of hard to hate on Chanel, because despite leaving a little bit more to be desired as far as maybe the performance department for some of y'all, at the end of the day they are still innovators. So again, you gotta respect them for that. But now moving on to the next brand, and this one's easy, it's Christian Dior. And with Dior, I feel like a lot of fragrance enthusiasts took a liking to them because they're also innovators in their own right, but also they would hit you with that performance more often than not as well. They just didn't give you a lot to complain about when they were truly in their prime. Like even this basic ass line in Higher I think is really dope, but not everyone might feel that way. But I think the community consensus around other lines again are just really, really high, like for Dior Homme or Poison, Eau Sauvage, Fahrenheit, the list goes on. But if anything, as of recently, I would say that out of the brands on this list, this is one of those brands that are notably losing respect really fast. Like, I think if they're retaining respect, it's for what they were doing maybe 10, 15 years ago. But as of recently, going for that new kind of mastige, nouveau riche market with lighter offerings and starting to reformulate some of their flagship fragrances from flagship lines. I just know that a lot of community people aren't really fucking with those moves. And of course, you have Sauvage too, which is just another can of worms. Like, whether you like that fragrance or not, you kind of have to respect Dior for doing exactly what they wanted and getting exactly what they wanted out of that. So yeah, despite the change in directions per se, Dior for the win. Anyway, moving on to a brand that doesn't remotely follow trends whatsoever, and that's Comme des Garçons. Yeah, that's why we respect the hell out of stuff like this. Of course, they're mainly known for their 2 line, but this incense stuff right here is just amazing. Each one of these shits are known for being representative of a world religion out there, and I feel like they executed each of them quite accurately with a lot of grace. Just a big fan of this line. I also think this brand's collaboration with Monocle is exceptional. Yeah, there's just lines and themes here for days when it comes to Comme des Garçons, and they really use their synthetic approach and resources just to be able to tell whatever story that they want, whoever commissions them to do a story with them per se. So overall, they just take this niche approach, which is developed in just years and years of rapport with their audience, which continues to grow despite how small scale it might seem in comparison to other brands. You know, they just don't have a lot of distribution, which is fine because they'd rather be hidden gems. So with that exclusivity in mind, I also think that adds to their level of cachet because there's supply and demand and makes it hard to find, so people are going to furthermore revere it and hence respect it. So that's why Comme des Garçons makes this list. Alright, for moving on to the next designer fragrance brand that fragrance enthusiasts respect, and this one's easy. It's Hermès. Hermès, if you just see their clothes, you see their leather goods, just seems like a brand that is so in touch with nature, and as a result, their fragrances are going to be executed in that fashion as well. I think that Jean-Claude Elena years with Hermès were just impeccable. I think he did the best citrus fragrances consistently throughout those years in the game. On top of that, he showed his versatility with offerings like Terre d'Hermès, which were more everyday along with its flankers. Also, the Un Jardin line I think is impeccable as well. Really makes you feel like a garden on whatever they say it is at. Of course, everyone's favorite being this one right here, Un Jardin sur le Nil, and I really can't blame him for that. Like, I've never been on the Nile River anywhere, but I would really imagine that it would smell as pretty as this, or again, at least a garden by it. And yeah, overall, I just think their contemporary offerings recently are awesome. But another thing I also want to highlight from the brand is that the stuff that goes unnoticed, the stuff before Elena, is also quite awesome too. And one of these favorites recently being this right here in Roja, just a new light, awesome fall favorite of mine. And yeah, I guess after that, what can I say? Hermès is really a brand that knows itself as far as the fragrances that they keep dropping. Unlike other brands, they are very proud of their history still, so I have to give them props for that. And on top of that, they don't really follow trends either. Hard not to respect all of that. Alright, Forum, now moving on, crossing the halfway point. Here we have the house of Lalique. And Lalique's easy, guys. Just look at the forums if you are a newcomer into fragrance. Everyone is feeding for this brand, or more specifically, the Encre Noire line. And this Encre Noire line is really cool because no matter how you spin it, from the OG to flanker, I just think that each of them really makes sense and they can really do no wrong with this DNA. Just a really super creative take on vetiver, which is such a cornerstone note in perfumery in general. But to see it on a level that you can find it very approachably at, yet still arguably more creative than other vetiver-centered fragrances out there, I just think is really, really awesome. But with that aside, again, if you are really getting to fragrance for the first time, you don't know where to start. Again, stuff like this is what perfumery can be about, despite how approachable you can actually get it for. Now, the next brand I can't help but mention for this respected list, here it is, it's Mugler. Again, I say I can't help but mention them because I do think that they are slipping as of late, especially with their ownership changes as far as who is doing their perfumes now. But even a little bit before that, I just thought that Mugler was slipping with what really brought them to the dance, and that is gourmand offerings through their Angel and Amen line. Like, they really introduced this kind of sweeter fragrances to the masses back in the 90s. Since then, the flankers have been impeccable as well, if not arguably better. And I don't know if the brand feels like they've kind of expended what they can do with sweets when it comes to stuff that's as dope dope as this, but yeah, they definitely got away from it, and it's just sad in my opinion. Like the last truly good one that was released, in my personal opinion, was Ultra Zest, and that's discontinued now officially. On top of that, I think the Mugler Cologne line was a little underwhelming as far as how the community felt about it. And yeah, I get why you'd want to be known for versatility per se and not just sweeter offerings, but I also don't think you should neglect what brought you to the dance as well. So that's why I think they are losing respect, but they still deserve your respect because they're still innovators on the designer level when it comes to stuff like this. So yeah, Mugler for the win. Moving on now to the next designer brand that fragrance enthusiasts respect, and that is Narciso Rodriguez. And for him, this one is super easy for me because musk, again, is such a cornerstone note in the world of perfumery. But when it comes to the designer level, who does it better than Narciso Rodriguez? Like, just look through their women's line. Most of those musks are super dope if you ask me. And when it comes to the men's stuff, the Eau de Toilette by Francis Kurkdjian is awesome. But I've been since feeding for this stuff right here, the Eau de Parfum. It just feels less harsh overall with less of the patchouli vibe that you have in the Eau de Toilette. More emphasis on softer, powdery notes, and I just think that's so welcome off my skin. So again, the house knows what it's good at. It's gonna keep hitting you with that stuff. At least for women, I mean. For men, it's kind of up in the air because you see some of these more bluer offerings, which I feel aren't as lauded by the community. But if this stuff is potentially discontinued for that stuff, then I'm presuming at least they're doing better with more casuals outside of the community who might just be buying that stuff up. I don't know. But again, overall, I just feel like they still are very in touch with their musky identity. That's why I respect them. And I think that's why most community heads do too. Moving on to the second last brand on this list, also very respected. Here we go with Prada. And to me, Prada is that blue, gray, or black suit of a scent. They just simply know how to do clean scents, and I just think that's awesome. Whether it's stuff from the Amber Pour Homme line or even the new Prada L'Homme line, I just think that Prada knows what they're doing as far as brand identity. So be clean, professional for the win. So yeah, I naturally love them for that because I tend to like scents like that. So definitely hard not to respect that either. Alright, moving on to the last designer brand that fragrance enthusiasts respect. If we want to take a look at the last decade alone, I would presume that most of y'all would say that this is without a doubt the brand that we all together respect the most, and it's none other than Tom Ford. Guys, this one's easy. Just take a look at the Tom Ford catalog. How many brands have fragrances in the last 15 years that can rival what they've done? Like, when it comes to this many cornerstone fragrances in the game, designer or niche, I really can't think of another brand. You got Black Orchid, you got Grey Vetiver, Noir Extreme, Tobacco Vanille, Oud Wood, Tuscan Leather, Noir de Noir, the list goes on. And you notice what I did there. I said some of those private blends at the end of the list there, and that's another thing with Tom Ford. As good as some of these fragrances here are, Tom Ford is that one brand that you think of their more higher exclusive line more than their actual main signature line. Sure, you have some more ethereal and aquatic stuff throughout that line, but for the most part, that line, as far as what it's most known for with some of those previous offerings I just mentioned, innovative, big, seductive, what else do you want? And on top of that, they're still continuing to innovate because they are always dropping new stuff that people actually get excited for every year. Again, think of another elevated line that people are actually as excited for, at least one release every year. I'll wait. And then when it comes to their signature line, they don't really have to try that hard. Of course, stuff like Ombre Leather or Beau de Jour were previously private blends. So not only do they not have to try so hard, they're actually blessing you with stuff that used to be more expensive. So sometimes they do throw you a bone as well. That's a move that I guess we can all respect and all appreciate and whatnot. And yeah, barring some reformulation issues that kind of plague every other line here and their ever rising MSRPs, I just don't see how we can actually hate on Tom Ford. Again, their recent innovation and quality throughout this world of Western perfumery, I just think is unquestionable. So yeah, Tom Ford for the win to close out this list. And yeah, that about does it for him. Hopefully you enjoyed this list. 10 designer brands that fragrance enthusiasts actually respect. If you guys agree with this list, disagree with this list, or just want to tell me what you guys thought of it, please let me know in the comment section below. Again, really trying to get that subscriber ratio up as well. So if you guys really want to help me out, I'd appreciate this. It's the least y'all could do additionally for this free content. Again, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And again, if this channel's not for you, you can kindly unsubscribe as well. But until then, Forum, thank you again for your ongoing support. Take care for now. My name is Manny. Wear your fragrances.